Hello and welcome to the Voice of Todd. I'm Tom, and today we're going to look at the latest episode of The Mandalorian. I'll get it right this time, hopefully. Season 2, Episode 5, Chapter 13, The Jedi. So, I'm still finding my feet with how I want to do these. This is the first sort of series of reviews I've done. Got a few other ones I'm working on, but they're going to be more season overviews than individual episode overviews. This is very much a sort of test and see how I sort of like the structure. So far it's okay, but I'm probably going to change it up a little bit. We'll see how we go. But as usual, we'll jump in with a quick recap. We've gone into very much a story-driven episode now, which is exactly what I was wanting, and it really plays out like I wanted, I'll be honest. But we open up on a very smoky, deforested area, big open fields with just trees chopped down and just wreckage everywhere. We have some what look like hired guns. They're just faceless goons basically running around with blaster rifles, and Ahsoka Tano tearing through them with her dual white lightsabers. She is cutting through them towards the city that is where the Mando is heading. She gets there, and the governess is standing there with another hired gun. This hired gun, is played by Michael Bane, who I love. But she's after some information from this governess of the city. The governess really does not care. She says that she will happily kill all of the people in the city. There's obviously some history there. It doesn't really matter. Ahsoka Tano's here, and whoever she's against is bad, is really what you need to take from this. We then cut to the Mandalorian in the Razor Crest coming into land on the planet. Quite a nice little scene with him and the child. This season it's built on the idea of the Mandalorian growing into a father figure for this child. Again, playing into that here. Really the only takeaway from this scene, apart from it being quite a nice little filler, is that the child wants the little silver gear stick ball knob thing that he spent most of season 1 playing with. He wants that from the control panel of the Razor Crest, and he uses the Force to take it off. Razor Crest lands. It looks to me like since last week's repairs, the Razor Crest has a new paint job. We didn't really get a very good view, and I might be totally wrong, but it looked like there was some red graffiti on the sides. Might be wrong. I probably should go back. I've watched this episode twice. I only noticed it once. I should probably go back and check it. But I feel like there's something there, maybe. Who knows? But it lands in this deforested area, and straight away, Mando, with the child in satchel, walks up to the gates of the city and is allowed in. We see, as he's walking through, it looks like it's ruled with an iron fist. The people are scurrying around. Nobody wants to talk to Mando. He asks one of the people there, and he says basically don't talk to anyone. There's 2 hired guns come to the Mando and says that the governess wants to speak to him. Or the ambassador, or I can't remember what word they used. It doesn't really matter. She's the leader. So he's led into her part of the compound, and she's standing there with 2 HK droids, not quite HK-47s, but that kind of idea, assassination droids. And she says, "I want you to kill a Jedi. You look equipped for it, and as payment I will give you this spear." Turns out the spear that she wields is full Beskar steel, pure Beskar steel. Pretty cool. Didn't know that the Mandalorians had spears. May do. I thought it was always vibroblades and things like that. But yeah, cool. It's a nice little thing, and again it ties back into this idea that Beskar is a very rare, very exotic metal that people want. So Mando heads out in search of this Jedi. Basically, next scene finds her. Ahsoka Tano jumps in, both lightsabers out at the ready, and he uses his Beskar gauntlets to parry the blows. Ties up with a whipcord, she flips over a tree, which sort of gets her free from the cord. Really cool little scene, but he basically says, before she goes any further, I'm here because Bo-Katan sent me. And then she sees the child, and they stop fighting, and she starts to commune with the child. By this point, it's gone dusk, so you imagine that they've been speaking for quite a while, Ahsoka and the child. They're communing through the Force. We learn the child's name, which I will touch on in my thoughts, but he's apparently called Grogu. He is a he, it's confirmed that he's a he. Yoda gets a name drop, saying that Yoda is the only one of this child's kind that she's ever met, which makes me think what happened to Yaddle, the female Yoda, on the panel in Phantom Menace, I think it was, which I would guess was canon, but obviously not. We get some of the child's backstory. He was basically in training on the Coruscant Temple with numerous different Jedi Masters. At the point when the Purge happened and the clones attacked, which was led by Anakin, as we know, we saw it in Revenge of the Sith. And then after that point, the child was hidden and has no memories of what happened in the intervening years, which is about 35, 36 at this point, I think. So the child was probably quite young, if we're working on the idea that it's around 50 now. But that's the child's backstory. Yeah, it kind of works. It seems straightforward enough. I can't quibble with that. She then decides that she will test Grogu, which is the child. I'm just going to call him the child because Grogu's weird. She then decides to test the child's force powers. She levitates a stone to the child and tells him to levitate it back, and he doesn't, just drops it. So Ahsoka then says to the Mandalorian, you do it, you tell him to do it, but use your bond. It feels almost like Mando was going to take his helmet off at this point, this little interaction. He didn't, which is good. But they feel like they're leaning into that a little bit, maybe. Or maybe he's nods to it. But yeah, he uses the ball from the gear stick, and the child just snatches it straight out with the Force, straight into his hand. At this point, Ahsoka says that the child has a lot of fear in him. She won't train him. Where are we? Yeah, the child has too much fear in him. She won't train him. She's seen what fear can do to a Jedi Knight, obviously referencing Anakin, and says that it happened. That she's seen what it can do to the best of us. So we're still, thankfully, Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one, the best of the Jedi. Great. Let's keep that trend. Thank you. Thanks, Dave. This was directed by Dave Filoni, by the way. Mando then says, I need someone to train him. So he says, I was sent here to kill you, but I will help you free the people if you promise to train the child. So then they plan an attack. There's a reference to laser swords, which is quite cool. Ahsoka mentions the governess after Mando's talked about all the troops and the blaster rifles and whatever they have with them. Apparently this woman's called Morgan Elsbeth. She helped the Empire build their fleets during the time of power between the Clone Wars and what would have been the Rebellion time, the OT. So then we cut straight to Ahsoka attacking the city. She kills a few guards, finds the governess, says that she's killed the Mandalorian, and the governess orders most of the guards to attack Ahsoka and some of the others to kill the civilians. At this point, the governess retreats to her inner area, inner sanctum. Mando flies in, kills a couple of guards, saves the civilians, and Ahsoka is just cutting through anybody in her path. I'm not going to go into details. The action's good. We'll touch on it later. But yeah, she's just cutting through anybody in her path really to get to the governess. She eventually catches up with her. They have a bit of a face-off. It felt to me very Episode 1, Duel of the Fates. They're testing each other. They're prodding at each other's defences. It's a very well thought out and choreographed kind of fight. Ahsoka with her dual lightsabers and the governess with this spear. Two very different styles going off against each other. They're both obviously very well trained. They know how to fight. As the fight goes on, there's some interplay between Michael Bane's character and Mando, who are on the opposite side of the door to this sanctum. Quite cool. Michael Bane's a hired gun, doesn't have any real loyalty, he's in it for the money. He's edging closer towards Mando, he lays his gun on the ground. We cut to Ahsoka and the governess fighting, and they're pretty much even until Ahsoka gets in there and disarms the governess and asks where her master is. And then she asks for the master by name, none other than Grand Admiral Thrawn, which if you've seen Rebels you'll know he's also got a long storied sort of series of books, I think in current canon and in Legends as well. Very beloved character in the Star Wars universe, and I think we guessed that he was going to be referenced, but it's quite cool that they're directly bringing him into live action. Maybe sounds like at this point and from the outside you can tell that Ahsoka's won. So Michael Bane lowers his gun, he puts it on the ground, makes it out like he's going to cut and run, and then goes to draw his blaster from behind him. And Mando just guns him down, just quick draw, guns him down. Very high noon, real sort of cowboy stuff. Mando's not taking any prisoners in this. Doesn't do a lot of fighting, but he's not taking any prisoners. So at this point, governess is dead. We guess, we didn't see what happened to her. She could be dead, she could have been taken captive. We don't know. But she's definitely been dethroned. The city's free. Ahsoka gives Mando this spear and says that because it's a Beskar spear, it belongs with the Mandalorian. Maybe leaning into Bo-Katan, taking on the Darksaber with a Beskar spear. Maybe. Just spitballing here. And then we get a prolonged but quite a nice scene of Mando saying goodbye to the child, really building on the idea that he's just going to leave her with Ahsoka to be trained. But Ahsoka refuses to train him, says that he needs to be taken to an ancient Jedi temple and reach out through the Force to find a master, but that there aren't many Jedi left. And that's it. Episode cuts. It was a longer episode, it was about 40 minutes this time. As I said earlier, directed by Dave Filoni. I think he did an amazing job. It makes sense that Dave Filoni would be bringing in Ahsoka and playing with his own character. I think that's his biggest contribution to the Star Wars lore, was the character of Ahsoka. And the fans love her. Rosario Dawson was excellent. She looks the part, she moved the part, she had the little cockiness and the playfulness that Ahsoka had that I remember. Really good. This was definitely the best episode of the season, and this season is by far a step up from last season. So all good, still really enjoying it. Definitely getting back that Star Wars vibe week on week on week. These episodes are getting better. Last week was a bit of a misstep for me in certain elements. The music most notably, but the music this week was incredible. Back on form. Again, I say it every week it seems. Must be how much I didn't like it in season 1, but the puppetry for the child is excellent. The choreography for the fights was good. Did feel a little green screen for me, maybe not as fluid as some of the hand-to-hand combat that we have when it's just blasters and knives. But you've got lightsabers to factor in, so I'm willing to let that go. That's fine. It still flowed really well and it looked good. I'm glad that Mando didn't remove his helmet, which felt to me at least where it was going. You might feel differently. That's fine. I might just be reading too much into it. But that's fine. Michael Bane, to me, he's a hero. He's Kyle Reese. He's Hicks. Some of the first heroes, like just men who do heroic things that I ever saw in cinema with both Terminator and Aliens. I love seeing him. He does a great job in this. He doesn't get a lot of screen time, but he does a great job in this. Really enjoyed seeing him. The strength of bond between Mando and the child was really on show with this episode. You got the feeling that this is a father-son relationship and Mando is just looking out for what's best for the child now, which makes sense after the time that they've spent together. But yeah, works for me, and it felt real considering one's a puppet and one you never see his face. But yeah, works for me. I also loved seeing a Grey Jedi in action. Now, I thought that Lucasfilm had said Grey Jedis aren't canon, but Ahsoka's obviously a Grey Jedi, and she is ruthless in combat. She doesn't feel like a true Jedi in this, which she isn't. She was very much focused on her task than anything else. Although she's still, leaning towards the light side, she's just getting it done, which I liked. It's nice to see not only a Jedi in action in this, but it felt fresh and I enjoyed it. Couple of takeaways for me. One is that I really want a live action Jedi series. I would probably lean towards setting it pre-episode 1 in the build-up of I suppose you don't even know there's a war, so I don't know what your story would be, but I'm sure there's something out there. But I'd love to see, a Jedi Master and a Padawan, or even just a Jedi Master going out across the galaxy and having Mando-style adventures. That'd be really cool. I'd love to see that. I do miss lightsabers in this. But this does feel like they're setting up an Ahsoka series. I'm guessing that she'll be back in The Mandalorian, but you could take her out of it now and have her own series doing her own thing, either a prequel to this episode or moving forward set after this episode. Both would work, and with somebody like Rosario Dawson in the role, I feel that that's quite possible, which is cool. I'm happy with it. But it did leave me with a couple of questions. The first one, with the quote of "there's not many Jedis left." This is set after Return of the Jedi, so we know that Darth Vader has been killed. I'm guessing the galaxy knows as well, and I'm guessing that the galaxy would know, or the people that Ahsoka would have known and dealt with would know that he was killed by Luke, his son. Probably. Why hasn't Ahsoka sought out Luke? Why is there no reference of that? I thought that just seemed odd to me. The other one, and the biggest question, how do you feel about the child being called Grogu? And the name was used repeatedly this episode. They're really leaning hard on, this isn't Baby Yoda, this is Grogu. I don't know. I hate Baby Yoda. That's why I tend to lean on calling him the child. But Grogu sounds... I suppose Yoda sounds a bit silly when you first hear it. But Grogu... I don't know. Not sold on that. But overall, really good episode. Really enjoyed it. This episode was written and directed by Filoni. Not just directed. The others have been written by Jon Favreau. It felt very Dave Filoni. You get to see the owl that resembles Ahsoka in some of the concept art, actually in one of the trees here, and there is a loth cat, I think, in the battle in the city. Probably foreshadowing things to come, but I haven't looked into what the next episode is. I don't know the title, I don't know who's directing it, I don't know what the synopsis is. But I'm looking forward to it. Episode worked really well. I love seeing a Jedi do Jedi things. Worked for me. Well done, Dave Filoni. You've done Star Wars fans proud yet again. That's all I've got to say. That's it. I've got nothing else to add. That's my thoughts. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.